not at all.
I have the presentation. So we have another meeting. We have a second.
Okay, good. I just want you to feel comfortable. So your PowerPoints are down here.
Okay, is that like mine?
I now call this meeting of the Peoria Public Schools Board of Education for October 22nd. For October 22nd, 2018, to order. Would you please call the roll?
Dr. Davis, thank you. Here. Perfect.
Mr. Wilson. Here. Mr. Shaw.
Here. Here. Thank you. Would you all please rise and join me in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right here.
All right, first on our agenda tonight is the approval of our minutes from our October 8th, 2018 meeting. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from October 8th, 2018?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Walter.
Aye.
Mrs. Jackson.
Aye.
Mrs. Ross.
Aye.
Dr. Davis Maculus.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Shaw.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you. Next up is announcements. Do any board members have announcements?
I do. Reminder, all Peoria Public Schools will dismiss after a half day of instruction next Wednesday, October 31st, for a school improvement or SIP day. SIP days are spaced throughout the school year and are held to provide professional development for teachers. While our teachers attend regular professional development meetings, there are still many things going on that need their attention and time with fellow teachers. SIP days offer training on curriculum, testing, and state standards. I have a second one as well. Students and parents interested in the International Baccalaureate program are encouraged to attend an informational meeting on Thursday, October 25th at 6 p.m. in the Rich Woods High School auditorium. Applications for the IB program are due by Friday, November 16th. The application is on the Rich Woods High School website. 8th, 9th, and 10th grade students who reside within the Peoria Public School boundaries may apply. IB aims to develop self-motivated student inquirers who are globally minded and finish high school well prepared for the rigors of the world's premier colleges and universities. Students who graduate with the IB diploma are academically ready to excel in post-secondary school and often do so with a large number of college credits.
Thank you. Other announcements? Ms. Johnson?
Please plan to join Peoria Public Schools and community partners at a special ribbon cutting ceremony for the Wraparound Center on Wednesday, October 24th at 1:30 p.m. This will be a chance for the entire community to tour the facility and learn about the services being provided by the network of community agencies. The Wraparound Center is located at Treeland Primary School, 1419 South Folkers Avenue in Peoria.
Thank you. Other announcements? Yeah. Ms. Jackson?
The Woodruff Career and Technical Center Culinary Arts Programs, Warrior Way Cafe, will open to the public for lunches starting Tuesday, November 1. Culinary arts students plan menus, manage purchasing, preparation, and serving for the cafe. Menus frequently follow a seasonal theme, and items are locally sourced as much as possible. A full listing of dates is now available on our website, www.pcc.org. peoriapublicschools.org. Watch upcoming issues of Remarkable Times and our district Facebook page and Twitter account for menu and reservations. The students is looking for all of you to come down to Woodruff.
Thank you. Other announcements? Mr. Walter.
Wanted, certified teachers, teachers pending certification, and substitutes. Peoria Public Schools is seeking the best and brightest candidates to lead our classrooms. The district is participating in a virtual job fair on Thursday, October 25th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. for certified teachers and May graduates pending certification. While the virtual job fair is for certified teachers and those pending certification, we also still need substitute teachers. For more information or to apply online, visit www.peoriapublicschools.org/employment.
Thank you. Other announcements? Mr. Shaw.
The ISBE Those Who Excel Banquet, Awards Banquet. Peoria Public Schools staff members and volunteers were recognized by the Illinois State Board of Education Saturday at the annual Those Who Excel Banquet in Bloomington. Attending the banquet were recipients of the Peoria Public Schools Team Award, the staff of Peoria Public Schools Foundation, Cindy Morris, Patricia O'Shaughnessy, Sarah Oakford, Jen Adler, Jen Mouchard, Molly Bright, Lynn Anderson Loy, and Brenda Wilson. The foundation team won an award of excellence. Peoria Public Schools bus driver Otha Boyd received an ISB Award of Excellence. Boyd is the driver of the Lincoln Cade School, driver for the Lincoln Cade School within the school program. Peoria High School Language Arts and Social Studies teacher Kari Withrich won an ISB Award for Merit in the Early Career Educator category. Terry Berg, Richwoods High School Sign Language Interpreter and coordinator of the Roundtable Project, won an Award of Excellence. Carol Falk, 2018 Peoria Public Schools Donald Ferris Classroom Teacher of the Year, won an ISB Award of Merit. Lindbergh Middle School Principal Sue Malahy won an ISBE Award of Excellence for Administrator of the Year. And Andrea Tortora won an ISB Award of Excellence in the Community Volunteer category for her work with Keller Primary School, Washington Gifted Middle School, and the Peoria County Schools Facility Sales Tax Campaign. So congratulations to these outstanding representatives of Peoria Public Schools.
And Mr. Shaw was in attendance on Saturday in Bloomington, so thank you, sir, for supporting the team.
Any other announcements? Okay. Oh, sorry. Dr. Davidson Vilas.
Buenas noches y bienvenidos a todos. Good evening and welcome to all of you. Da las gracias un director de escuelas durante la semana de apreciación de directores. Thank a principal during Principal Appreciation Week. Peoria Public Schools está celebrando nuestros directores de la escuela esta semana. Nuestros directores de la escuela trabajan muy duro cada día para crear ambiente de aprendizado positivos y asegurar que cada estudiante alcanza pleno potencial académico y personal. Son muy notables. Por favor, anime a su estudiante a agradecer a un director de escuela esta semana. Un minuto de apreciación pone una sonrisa en la cara del director. And here's what all that meant. Peoria Public Schools is celebrating Principal Appreciation Week. Our principals and assistant principals work incredibly hard each and every day to help create positive learning environments and ensure that each student reaches his or her full academic and personal potential. They are truly notables, remarkable. Please encourage your student to thank a principal this week. And that thank you could be as simple as a high five or a short handwritten note. 1 minute of appreciation, pone una sonrisa, puts a smile on a principal's face that could last all day. And keep an eye on our website, Facebook and Twitter, to see your school's principal recognized.
Mrs. Ross.
5 Essential Survey is coming. The annual 5 Essential Survey is a diagnostic assessment of the school's culture and climate. It is designed to identify organizational strengths and areas of opportunity on the 5 essential factors that drive school improvement. The survey will get teachers, parents, and students' feedback on those 5 essential factors: effective leadership, collaborative teachers, involved families, supportive environment, and ambitious instruction. We encourage everyone to take a few minutes of your time to respond to the 5 Essential Survey. Your response will help Peoria Public Schools dig into data, formulate strategic actions, and track improvement. More information and a link to take the survey will be shared on the district's website in the remarkable times for each or at each school where your child will attend.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Community Contribution Award. Tonight we have the pleasure of honoring Advanced Medical Transport of Central Illinois with the Community Contribution Award. AMT is the premier provider of emergency and scheduled ambulance services in our community. It's a private, not-for-profit organization that's operated for community benefit and governed by a board of directors. At this time, I'd like to invite Cheryl Sam Phillip and AMT to come to the podium and tell us a little bit more about AMT's efforts in our classrooms.
Thank you, Mr. Adler. It is my pleasure to be here this evening to talk about AMT CEO Andrew Rand, Community Engagement Coordinator Josh Bradshaw. As you know, Alignment Peoria's first tactic is the K-5 Career Awareness Framework. All of our students in K through 5 are going to have 2 career speakers this year, and then they each have a field trip. This framework was written by teachers and community members, business representatives, together to form what we think is an outstanding framework with the career clusters aligned to what the kids are learning in the curriculum, with the essential skills that are needed for their future careers, and those are pyramided, so each year more is expected of the kids with the essential skills, and then appropriate vocabulary. Well, AMT sponsored the kindergarten field trip, and we had a reverse field trip. Now, when I say reverse field trip, AMT and Josh Bradshaw came to all of the schools, and he talked about careers in emergency services with 930 kindergartners. Now, I had the privilege of going to 2 of these field trips. There were 12 of them, and he did this all in 1 week. And when I tell you, he was outstanding. He talked about, and believe me, he had kids on his legs. They were hugging him. They had the most wonderful questions for him. But he was outstanding. He approached it that at AMT, we are helpers. And how many of you like to be helpers? And all the kids raised their hand. He said, we help people get better. We are here to help you. And then he equated a lot of what he carried and what he did to their backpacks, because he had on a backpack, and his backpack had the medicine and supplies that were necessary. When he opened that, they squealed. I mean, they were so excited that he had his backpack. And he, with such patience and such love for wanting to help our kids, talked to all of these kids, answered their questions, and then AMT had for them a book on emergency service careers. They each left with their own little book about a career. And if there wasn't a book, then they got a rubber ambulance and to commemorate their trip, and the kids loved it. They just loved it. And Mr. Rand, we can't thank you enough for AMT graciously giving of their resources and their time to host this trip. But Mr. Rand is no stranger to Peoria Public Schools, and Dr. Karat shaking her head. When Dr. Karat was principal at Whittier School, that is Mr. Rand's neighborhood school, and he graciously supported an after-school tutoring program for Whittier, as well as professional development with the Marzano group that really was an unbelievable professional development around teaching and learning that was cutting edge. Whittier later became a Blue Ribbon school, and as a community member and community partner, Mr. Rand was part of that because his help to the school helped with the after-school tutoring and teacher professional development, which has always been very much appreciated.
Yeah, he brought a nice check, about 20 grand. I'll never forget that.
And that was a wonderful... And that was absolutely a partnership in the making back then. AMT is also going to sponsor, and this is the first group to hear this, 4 internships for next semester for manual students as part of Alignment Peoria's internship tactic. And these are going to be paid internships, where our students are also going to be earning high school credit, and it's really amazing. So, on behalf of Alignment Peoria, I want to also introduce Mr. Sid Ruck-Regal, who is the treasurer of Alignment Peoria and an extremely active partner. He's going to be hosting the government trips for our 3rd grade at City Hall starting November 1st, so I'm sure we're going to hear more about those. But on behalf of Alignment Peoria Director Marcia Bolden, and the entire executive board of Alignment Peoria and the Peoria Public Schools, we thank AMT for what they're doing for our kids, because unless our kids can see it and be exposed to it, they can't dream it. And we want all of our kids to have hope and dreams about careers in the future. There's an award somewhere. Yeah, here we come.
I'm hoping Mr. Rand would make some comments by the time I get done.
Really, I just want to say thank you to all of you for providing us with that opportunity to make some really genuine conversation with the brilliant young future Peorians that we had in these kindergarten classes. When the subject first came up about speaking with him, the thought of talking with little kids about pre-hospital health care seemed like an abstract concept, but relating it to our core values really drove home the point that all we really needed to know to do our job we learned in kindergarten. We strive to be compassionate, accountable, respectful, ethical, and sustainable, and those are all skills that are kindergarten concepts. So I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to talk with them again. Thank you all very much.
I want to thank you all as well. A couple of things tonight, because I have to put in a selfish plug for some people. First, I don't think Josh's curriculum is ISBE approved. Maybe you want to work on that for next year. I know you guys are so overly regulated. But until tonight, nobody told me that it was okay to color outside the lines. And that wasn't the way it was in Miami-Dade County Public Schools where I attended. So I'm obviously a fan of public schools. Having lived in the West Bluff for about 12 years now, I have a crush, and have had one, on Dr. Karat from the very first time I met her at Whittier. And this is why this job is so important, is because she has this unique ability, and Alignment is the story to yet to be written, to gather up a community of followers, because we really do believe in the energy and enthusiasm that Sharon has. It is unlike any I know in leadership in Central Illinois, and obviously I'm around some of those people. But the community or business leaders are so willing to put our shoulder to the wheel for you in this particular endeavor is alignment, because you are the real deal, Dr. Karat, and that is why you'll see endless support for her. And I remember when he was Coach Booth, and this new functionality of the district, this is all part of a great mind. This is not imagined, the course we're all on together as a community, and I promise to do my part, plus some. And if you're teaching kids, it's 20,000. I don't think they know what 20 grand is. To continue to support you. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Ross.
Mr. Adler, I just wanted to recognize Mr. Rand. Oh, I thought I was the person that you were in love with. We go back a long way as well. Mr. Rand picked up the mantle when I left United Way. I helped create the 211, which is a 3-digit number that anyone can call to get help for anything. And so we wrote that at the national level, brought it to United Way, and when I left 16 years ago, your organization picked that up and is doing a wonderful job. Anybody can dial 211 on your phone and be able to connect with Mr. Rand's organization. AMT.
All right. The next item on our agenda is the Remarkable Spirit Award. So our award this evening goes to Campus Security Officer Monica Wilson. And Officer Wilson first joined Peoria Public Schools in 1999. She has spent most of that time at Lincoln K-8 School, where she brings a smile and a kind word every day. And that's almost 20 years of building relationships and ensuring our students and staff are safe, which is awesome. On a personal level, I'd like to share that I was at Lincoln last spring visiting with their garden club, the green team, and happened just casually observe Officer Wilson kind of on our way out for the day and get pulled into a pickup football game in the courtyard out in front of the school and spend a good 20-30 minutes with those kids just playing. And I think that really represents the kind of relationships that we want to have with our kids, that they see us as adults and leaders in our schools, but also as they're really pulling for them and trying to make it fun as well. So at this time, I'd like to invite our school safety director, Chief Demario Boone, to the podium to share a little bit more about Officer Wilson.
I won't tell all your secrets. Thank you, board members, Dr. Karat. This is the second time that I've gotten to recognize somebody from my team for this award, and I think that speaks to a greater culture for people in uniform that I think we're setting we're trailblazing. So tonight we're honoring Officer Monica Wilson for her proactive efforts at Lincoln School. In particular, Officer Wilson came up with Project Bear Behavior. She finds the most improved student, gets them to build a bear dressed up as a police officer, and presents this certificate with their accomplishment. She is then a special lunch for them in her office. She has done this for several years, and previous recipients also join in on this lunch. This is something Officer Wilson came up with on her own and under her own funding. Officer Wilson is also our official FTO, field training officer. Every new recruit must have a phase with her, and I make that mandatory. She is amazing with her level of training and her attention to detail. Officer Wilson also represents our officers as Union President of the Police Benevolent and Protective Association, Unit 114. She has a passion to help our department meet its full potential. She does all of this as she shows myself personal courage every day. She recently found out she was diagnosed with breast cancer, which she is beating, I might add. She shows up, puts a smile on her face, and gives her very best. That is remarkable. So it's my honor to help present Officer Monica Wilson with this award. Thank you.
Officer Wilson, on behalf of Peoria Board of Education, Superintendent Karat, it's my honor to award to you tonight this distinction, much, much richly deserved. We appreciate your leadership and the example you set for all. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'd like to thank my Lincoln family for being here to support me. All my brothers for being here to support me also.
And President Adler and Board, I have actually attended a couple of her ceremonies, and it's a really special treat for the kids. And the bear is really cute.
So we appreciate all the members of the Lincoln family and the campus security officers who came to cheer on Officer Wilson tonight. Thank you.
And Principal Bloomer and assistant principals, Cruz and.
Mr. McKenzie, I'll just note that I think they all saw what's next on the agenda. So at this time, we'll start the district presentations. First off, the 2018 tax levy presentation. Yeah.
I like that. There's missing out from the excitement here, so. Good evening, President Adler, Dr. Karat, board members. For the sake of any audience that doesn't know who I am, my name is Mike McKenzie. I'm the comptroller of the district, which means I'm the head accountant, so I get to do all the fun stuff with numbers that for some reason everybody else doesn't enjoy as much as I do. So tonight we're going to talk about the tax levy. We aren't actually going to vote on the official tax levy until the December 10th meeting, 11th, whatever the date is. And we'll cover dates here in a second, but tonight we're going to talk about the process and give initial numbers as part of the requirement before we do the actual official votes. So I always like to go over the terminology that we use when we talk about property taxes. What we set, or what you officially vote on with staff administration's help, is the levy, which is the amount of tax revenue that we're requesting the county to levy for us. So we're not voting on a rate at this level. We're voting on an amount of tax requested. So and I'll show you those amounts here in a second. Other thing is equalized assessed valuation, the EAV. EAV is set by the county, and it's approximately 1/3 of the fair market value of a taxable property. Again, we have nothing to do with that. It's just the number that the county comes up with over time. And they have a whole process about setting those and disputing those and everything. But equalized assessed valuation you need for the tax is one of the numbers that we need every year when we're doing this. The tax rate is the actual amount per $100 of EAV that is paid by the property taxes, or paid in property taxes. And then there's an extension, which is the EAV times the tax rate is going to give you the extension. That's the amount of taxes we actually received. But our job here at the school district is asked for a levy, an amount of taxes that we request. So tonight we're talking about the tax levy. You're going to vote in the consent agenda an estimate of revenues needed, which we have to publicly disclose at least 20 days before the public hearing. If our required levy is more than 105% of the prior year extension, we have to do a publication of a truth in taxation thing in the newspaper. It's very expensive, so usually we don't do it unless we have to, because it's all going to be on our website and available in other ways. So, printing it in the newspaper is we only do if it's over 105% of prior year extension, which is the requirement. On December 10th, we're going to have a tax levy hearing. As part of this meeting, people will be able to speak to the tax levy. And then on that same night, the board will approve the tax levy, hopefully. And then we have to file the tax levy with the county clerk by the last Tuesday in December, which this year is Christmas, so we will do that at least, right after you vote on it, we'll file it with the county so that there's no problems with timing. I don't know exactly what their plan is this year, but obviously they're not going to be open on Christmas, so we're going to have to make sure we do it plenty. We'll do it plenty before then, but it's required to be filed with the county clerk the last day or the last Tuesday in December. As far as what we do to to get these numbers together, the first thing I always do is I talk to the county assessor to get an EAV prediction. Dave Ryan is in that office, and he knows all the numbers that are going through and the disputes that are going on and stuff. So he gives us an estimate on an EAV prediction. We also talk to the county about our tax levy to make sure the numbers they have are equal to the numbers I have, so we always have a little discussion with the county. Then myself and the CFO usually sit there and talk about scenarios about, what numbers we need, what are we budgeted, things like that, and then we determine the level of the rates or what we are going to request from you, and then, today is the beginning of that discussion. And we were doing it this early this year, so we have plenty of time for people to ask questions or anything before the December official vote. Property taxes, I just put this in there to show you how much property taxes are of the operating funds. It's about 30% of our operating fund budget this year we expect to get from property taxes. A lot of school districts you talk to that are a lot of school districts have a larger percentage of their revenue that comes from property taxes. Because of the way we get a lot more from the state than we actually get in property taxes at this point. But a lot of school districts, it's 80-90% that get from property taxes. So property taxes are more stable than state and federal resources, which can go up and down quite a bit. So property taxes are good to have or bad to have depending on the situation. The problem this year with property taxes is this is our historical. I've been here since 2009. In 2010, we had about $1.4 billion in EAV, Equalized Assessed Valuation, within the Peoria Public School District. This year, you can see where it went down quite a bit, and then it's been trickling up. This year, the county assessor is estimating a EAV for us of about $1,330 million, which sounds like a lot, but that means it's a 2.3% decrease from last year. There are other school districts in this county I've heard are going to be a lot bigger drops than that. So this is the Caterpillar property sales thing. We've had a lot of these high dollar houses that have sold recently at significant decreases from previous amounts. And I have a personal friend that just bought a house in the Dunlap School District, and his property taxes on his house had been like $12,000, and now they're going to be like $9,000 because he bought it for so much less than it had been appraised for before. So, but where it affects us is we're expecting a 2.3% decrease in equalized assessed valuation, which carries forward to those limited rate environments. And what I mean by that, on this slide, this is last year's tax levy. And we have lots of components of our tax levy, and certain ones have a maximum rate that can be taxed. Education is 2.18%. So last year, we got through we asked for $30,825,000 because we always ask for more than we expect to get. the rate would have come out at 2.25%. We can only get 2.18%, so we got $29,872,141. Well, this next year, we're going to get 2.3% less than that. Now, I have that number on the next slide, but, and I'll show you that in a second. But my point of this slide is showing you that certain of parts of our levies have a fixed maximum rate, and then other parts have an unlimited rate, but they have very restrictive what you can put in there. I mean, tort liability, you can only put certain things to that fund. IMRF, Social Security, you can only put certain things to that fund. Bonds, you know, we will, that's unlimited, but you have to go through a process before you can issue bonds. So then these other ones have a limited rate. So we asked for a amount larger than we're expecting to get, knowing that we will only get 2.18%. So last year we asked you to levy $74,465,597. We actually got $73,122,068 because of those limiting rates. And we always ask for more because even though the county is saying 2.3% decrease, we don't want to ask for that dollar amount because if there's something they don't know about, we don't want to miss out on the amount that we need to run the district. So this year, and these numbers are probably not going to change or change very little, we're expecting a 2.28% decrease. So at our 2.18, we're expecting at $29,872,141 compared to $29,872,141 last year. So it's not, it's a very small decrease as far as real money, but it is definitely a decrease in money. So actually, I got to check my own math because
that's the same thing.
It's the same number. Anyway, I will check that number, but but that's the point. That number, that's the expected amount. The important part of this slide, what we're asking you is this proposed levy, because we're not using what we expect to get. We always ask for a larger dollar amount to make sure that we end up getting that 2.18% and that 0.04% and 0.5%. So the number today that is important is the proposed levy is going to be these dollar amounts, where certain ones are exactly what we need and expect to get, and the other ones will, even though we expect we ask for a larger dollar amount because we want to default down to the rate. It'd be easier if the state could just let us levy a rate, but we don't levy a rate, we levy a dollar amount. So, and the other important number here is that we are expecting that with this, it's a 2.46% increase over what the extension was last year. So we are, we don't have to do that truth and taxation advertisement in the newspaper because it's obviously a lot less than the 5%. So, so that's what we're going to ask you to do in December is this number, and that's what you're voting on tonight is this number, even though we really expect to get more like this number once everything flows out of the system. The other thing that we are going to ask you in December is, remember with the county school facility sales tax, we are getting the money from the sales tax, but the county also has a backup levy if we don't have the money for some reason, if something happens to the world. So we will be asking you to do a abatement of taxes from the capital projects fund where we put the sales tax over to debt service so we can pay the debt next year rather than do a tax levy. So that will be a typical, we'll be doing that every December for the next 19 years. But last year was the first time we did it, and we'll be doing it again this year. And I just left the slide to just kind of remind you that that's going to be a process we'll be doing every December for the county school facility sales tax. And that's it for now. So if you have any questions, I will.
Any questions from board members?
Okay.
Okay.
Can you go back to that slide before that?
This one?
No, the one before the question.
Oh, before questions? County school facility sales tax?
Number 2.
Yeah, when we get the actual sales tax, from the county. It goes to the state, then comes back to the county. The county then splits it up, and we get about 47% of the county's money based on enrollment. We put it into the Capital Projects Fund, which is Fund 61. And then every year we have to do an official abatement, which is transferring the money from that Capital Projects Fund into the Debt Service Fund. Because we have a cushion where we expect to get a certain amount of money from taxes, and a certain amount of that's for debt service, and then the rest we can use for other things. So we'll be able to do some other projects in addition to the ones we sold bonds for over time.
So these bonds were sold for capital projects that's already in place.
Right, we sold about $30 million of bonds last year to start the parking lots and the roofs and the manual HVAC and the Richwood's HVAC. So we sold $30 million of bonds. We're going to sell another $20 million probably next year to continue to do the rest of the schools. And so every year we're going to, we sold the bonds, and just as a process thing, we get the money in Capital Projects Fund 61, and then we have to transfer the money every year over to the debt service.
What kind of interest are we paying on those bonds?
I
While we're waiting for the money?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll look it up and email you, though. So.
Other questions?
All right.
Thank you.
Remember, Mike, we had gotten that grant, I forgot the name of it, where it was zero interest or...
Right. Part of the bonds we issued last year were QZAB, Qualified Zone Academy bonds, which are zero, or they're like 1.8% interest, and then they also get a tax credit for it. So about $3 million of the capital improvement bonds and about another $1 million of life safety bonds we issued right at the last day of the year last year. We were literally the last public body in the country to sell qualified zone academy bonds, and then the next day they became, they're not part of the tax law anymore, so you can't sell them anymore. So we did get very, very good. I think there's that $4 million is about 1.8 million or 1.8%, and then the other 27 million, I don't remember what the rate is, but I'll look it up and I'll email you. So, but they're tax exempt financing, and so it's reasonably good rate, but yeah. All right.
Thank you.
And you can always email me if you think of any questions after this meeting. So.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Next up, we have a couple of school improvement plan presentations. Dr. Wilson, do you want to introduce the schools?
So the school improvement plans are developed at each school. They're using a variety of data points, and so they look at all kinds of things, anywhere from academics to attendance to discipline, all kinds of things to decide what the focus should be for the year. And those are developed with leadership team at each building, which is called our ULT, or Universal Leadership Team. So many of the schools start working on these in the summer, and then they finish them up towards the beginning of the school year, because this is the focus for the year. This is the plan that drives. Something that was different this year that we did was the district leadership team, which is the keeper of the strategic plan for you. They pulled all of the school improvement plans in, and they reviewed all of the plans based on a rubric. And then we provided feedback on the goals, the actions, and the datas within each plan. So then these are vetted through the district leadership. And the other thing that we're looking for is we want to make sure that the school improvement plans are aligned to your strategic plan. So we want to make sure that what's happening in the school is also followed through at the district level and likewise. And so there was many exemplary plans, and a lot of work went into them, but we wanted to highlight a middle school plan and a primary plan that was really exemplary in the way that it was put together and the process. So we wanted to showcase just a couple. We could have brought many people here, but we picked a couple to just share with you what the work looks like at the school level. So, Mrs. Rodriguez?
Buenas noches y gracias por invitar yo. I said good evening and thank you for inviting me. All right, so I will take you through a walk of our highlights at Charter Oak, and it is an honor to be asked to be here tonight, so thank you very much. So let's see here. We have 4 pillars to our SIP plan. We have an incredible team that comes together monthly, and they include representatives from each grade level, from special education, from our Encore team, and Family Corps is present, as well as a parent representative to kind of brings that element and that perspective that we don't always have. So it's made up of a really great representative team of our school community. So Pillar 1, our goal is to raise reading and math achievement across our school. And so these are ways that we have determined that we'll be able to do that this year through our accelerated reader program, through differentiating instruction. So we have students achieving at low, medium, high levels of performance. Our goal is to raise each one of them. And so sometimes we have to do things differently for different groups of students and for different levels of achievement in order to do that. So we differentiate within our classrooms. We will have professional development opportunities for our staff this year to help them be even better at their craft. And we've already had Susan Gobine from our district team come out and do a math PD for our school, so we're grateful for her expertise. We have a writing professional development coming tomorrow morning, so 7:15, if anybody is interested, you are all welcome. We have Andrew Brown coming, who is on our more social emotional team, I guess we would say, and so all kinds of opportunities for our staff to just be enriched themselves. As well as Center for Prevention of Abuse will be giving our staff a childhood and trauma professional development on our SIP Day coming up here on October 31st. So we're looking forward to some amazing professional developments this year. Walkthroughs are something that administrators are tasked with, but that feedback that we can provide, getting a snapshot in each classroom throughout the day, throughout the week, just provides feedback for our staff so that we know what we need to work on, where we're excelling, what we should keep doing, and so that will be helpful as well. Finally, rolling out our balanced literacy plan for the district. So that's a little bit new to us, but not new concepts. Just this year, something we're really trying to implement with fidelity. And so we have an instructional coach who has been working with our teams during PLC time to be able to roll that out in an effective way. Looking at our second pillar, the goal here is more of a social emotional learning goal, supports for our students. We would like to increase our attendance and decrease discipline referrals. And the way we plan to do that is communication with families, #1. Keep those lines of communication, those relationships open with families, with the students, first and foremost. Next, we have monthly fun incentives that we've been doing. We started it last year. We're continuing this year. I like combining words, and our school's getting really used to that. But like when you combine September and present, so if you're present every day, you have perfect attendance, you get Presentember. And so we celebrated all month of Presentember, and we had a ton of fun with giving out batons for classes. Every morning we have a meeting in the gym, and we have kids that'll come up and get their baton if their whole class was here on time. At the end of the week, I had asked our staff to bring in trophies that they may have earned in high school. It was so much fun. We got to highlight some of their things that they maybe did when they were 11 on T-ball, but they brought in their trophies, and classes that had perfect attendance all week got to come up and pick from one of the trophies, and then we got to announce what the teacher had done to get that trophy, or the staff member. So it was a ton of fun. We just tried to make it like a lot of fun at our school, but really trying to raise that attendance. And then we have, well, right now we're in the middle of Box Tops for Education. October becomes Boxtober, if you think about it. So anyway, so right now we're doing a campaign to get all of our Box Tops for Education. I know Ms. Langhoff is probably cutting all the boxes at home, and they all have holes in them. So we appreciate that, Chief Boone. You probably are as well. I know we have students here from our families, but so we're working on a competition, fun and friendly, to raise box tops. But coming up in November, if you combine love and November, you get Lovember. And so we're going to work on decreasing our discipline referrals by showing love, kindness, and that's how we do it. We follow our Charter Oak expectations every day. Okay, so then we also have amazing community involvement. We have lunch buddies that's run through the Big Brother, Big Sister program. They connect with our students once a week and just build a relationship. That's what it comes down to. So that's an awesome thing. We have Paw Pals, and they come in for students that we see would be a good match for that program, where they get 20 to 30 minutes with a certified dog and owner, and they just get to read or pet or talk to the owner, pet the dog, learn about the dog. It's just an awesome kind of release for them, very sensory, and it's a great thing, and that's with our Adopt a School partner, the Humane Society. So we're really grateful for them as well. We just found out we'll be getting some Grace Presbyterian volunteers, so Tom Simpson has been behind that, and we're super excited and ready to welcome all of those volunteers to work with mentoring of our students, as well as doing some tutoring, some reading with them. And finally, we have reading buddies that come from within our own families at Charter Oak and from outside the community. So we're looking forward to all of that involvement from our community, as well as we have some in-school preventative measures. We have bully patrol. Students have to sign a contract that they will follow those expectations and set that good leadership. This is really the development of civic leaders in our society. So we're trying to build them up right here at our level. And they become bully patrol, and they actually get assigned to be on post at recess. And if anybody sits on our friendship bench, they swarm in and do the task of becoming a friend and helping them find an activity to get involved in. We also have SEL groups that meet on during a win time on Fridays, so that we're meeting some of those social emotional needs, because that's what we need sometimes. And then we have our leadership groups, Compost Club, Student Ambassadors, and Justice Council. Compost Club, pretty obvious, but definitely it takes a lot of trust for these students, and they know that they're trusted with going through our hallways, collecting pencil shavings that are ending up in our compost bin outside. They have a lot of trust and leadership to be able to do that without an adult supervising them. So they're our fourth grade group, and student ambassadors as well, kind of the welcoming committee for our school. Justice Council is going to be new this year, and it's a mentoring program with our fourth grade students who have overcome in their lives and can help mentor some of those kindergarten students who are coming in with lots of struggles, kindergarten and first grade. So we're looking forward to all of those ways to help raise our social emotional attendance and just lower our discipline referrals. Okay, so next we have Pillar 3, and there's only 4, I promise I'm almost done. Pillar 3, strengthen our school culture. So one of our, this is really, we know that good school culture is going to cultivate good achievement, right? So we really need to make sure that our staff, our families, the connection we all have together is working, and people feel like they want to come to work. And so we're going to be doing that this year by doing some team building activities with staff. We've already implemented a thing this year. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually makes a difference. We had always met in the same room for all of our PDs, all of our meetings. And this year, to mix it up, we started traveling from different classroom to different classroom for our meetings. So we're getting to see them and kind of make a connection with different teachers and see what they put on their walls and compliment and just have that interaction where we did not have that before. So that's been fun. Culture boosters, we have just games that get to know each other a little bit better. It can be done within minutes, but it makes a huge impact. So it's been a lot of fun to work on that. We're currently working on quick video snapshots that teachers are sending me right now with their confessions of education and of teaching. So I can't wait. I will not show that to anybody else. I've been sworn to only show our staff, but we're looking forward to some fun seeing that together on our SIP day as well. We have staff surveys that went out, and that was a lot of fun to get some feedback, and I tried to make the questions pretty real. And so I came up with a survey of just some new things that we've implemented, and so we had some fun with that, but we also got lots of feedback and things that we can use to help us move us forward and make the staff feel like they have a voice and they have a shared leadership at our school. And finally, Pillar 4, positive staff-family relations. Number one, again, we feel like communication, which we do through newsletters and website and phone calls every Sunday at 5 o'clock, and text and email and all those ways that we can reach out. So communication, number one, again. Our responsiveness, how are we responding when we have questions or when we feel like we have complaints or things that are sometimes uncomfortable? What's our response to that? How are we maybe looking at that as a positive rather than a negative? And then welcoming and professional. And so our, we have ways that we'll be implementing these things, but how we can make our families feel that we are welcoming them and that they can see that our professionalism is trustworthy for their children to be at our school. And finally, we did a parent survey. We decided on our SIP plan that we would be doing it at fall conferences and spring conferences. I did bring I guess, data that came from that, because we did implement that over our fall. But I'm not even sure that we need to pull it up. What I can tell you is that we had amazing results. We had 41 submitted, and so this would have been oldest child only, so it wouldn't have been our entire student body, but rather our entire out of our entire family. So probably, I'm guessing, about 30 to 40% that participated in the survey, which is still, we're grateful for any feedback we can get. But the response was awesome. They had an opportunity to say, definitely these things are happening, or somewhat, or not at all, like not happy at all. We had 0 in all of those 41. There were 11 questions on each survey, 0 not at all. So we feel like we are definitely meeting the needs, satisfying the families of our school, which we know is going to help raise our achievement and our culture. So the feedback from the DLT, or the district leadership team, that we received when we submitted our plan was not only encouraging, but it provided us guidance in how we could make it even better. So once we got that back, we included a few more things that they had suggested. We were very grateful for their feedback and included timelines, some more data to help support so that we knew we were moving in the right direction. And our ULT team met again to go over their feedback, and we collaborated to get the current living working document that will be implemented all year. And how we're going to do that is through effective PLCs. Our grade level teams meet weekly, twice a week actually, to cover topics such as the ones from our SIP plan. We have problem solving teams like our ULT, our PBIS team. These are collaborative groups that represent everyone at our school. And there will be careful coordination of the plan. So I'll make sure as the leader of the building that every month, as we say, we are going to be doing something, that we're including it in our ULT meetings, our PLCs, and on our agendas. And then using our resources, both community and in school, the strengths of our people, holding us accountable, and that we continue to have our shared decision making. And the hope is that we take our amazing school to a higher level of excellence. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. And as you can see, that she really gave some great examples of how all the school improvement plans are aligned with your pillars on the strategic plan. So there's that seamless transition. So without further ado,
all right, good evening, and this is my PowerPoint right here.
We told her you were too crazy about PowerPoint, so thanks for.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me this evening. I just kind of wanted to touch not so much on the specifics of our plan, but how we go about building the plan and how we decide what to include in the plan, okay? So our SIP is a strategic plan. It's developed specifically to our schools with teachers. It's monitored monthly at our Universal Leadership Team meetings and then during PLCs. So it's a shared voice among staff and parents as well. When developing our student improvement plan, the first thing we do is ensure that our goals are based on the strategic plan for the district. As Mrs. Rodriguez talked about, we do have 4 pillars. Each one is aligned to the strategic plan. Once we have determined the goals, in making sure that our goals are specific and measurable, attainable, time-bound, and realistic, we move forward with taking a look at the actions. So what actions can we put in place in order to meet the goals? So what is our path, essentially? What the teachers and I do is we take a look at what do we know that's research-based that has already been presented to us as a school, as teachers, from our district district resources. So we take a look at professional development that we've had. We take a look at presentations by a curriculum department. We take a look at professional development opportunities that we've had within our school. So we take a look at those, and those become our actions. We've determined a number of actions to go with each goal, and then to match the actions, we ask the question, how are we going to monitor? So if the action is, I don't know, something to do with maybe, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but if I'm talking about tiered reading groups, I'll take a look at how are we going to monitor that. So how many students are in Tier 2? How many students are in Tier 3? And then we take a look at, as they're progressing, are we decreasing, are we increasing, and having conversations about that. And finally, as a ULT, we take a look in our monthly meetings, and then from there in our PLCs. So the data is going not only horizontal but vertically with the staff as well. And revisiting not only the plan monthly, but then updating in our monitoring. So it's not something that's a document on the shelf, but it's something that we're updating and adding data points to, and having conversations about attendance, about performance on NAP test, performance on summatives in the grade book, performance on attendance. We don't blend words at the middle school level as much, but we do relate things to like Snapchat and things that middle schoolers like. So we're just kind of constantly monitoring. And then with our SIP plan, I have a student advisory that I meet with once a month, Principals Executive Club, so they're also aware of how we're monitoring. They are in charge of monitoring for attendance, and they're also in charge of monitoring for tardies, class tardies, school attendance, and minor discipline infractions like detentions. So that's what we chat about, and then we also chat about NWA scores, growth, and what their role is as kind of student leaders in the school. And that's kind of how we implement the Student Achievement Plan. So, any questions? Thank you. Questions? Okay, great. If anybody would like a copy of my PowerPoint, I can make copies of it. I made it at the ball game tonight.
Who won?
Oh, Limburg, both games. We lost. Both games.
Next time, yeah.
I thought they did a great job, both of them, and yeah, it's Dr. Wood. I know Charter Oak is yours. Did you want to say anything to the board about?
Well, I was just very impressed by just the entire process, as Dr. Wilson explained, of the schools developing the plan, then going to the leadership team, getting feedback, and then I got to observe Charter Oak's leadership team taking that feedback and bumping it up, and it was just a really good process, so I'm just proud.
And Dr. Bell brags about Mark Bill's board all the time, so Dr. B, you in it?
No, I mean, Ms. Rogers said it all. It's all about that shared leadership and having voice in terms of the students, and so that's what's really going to drive the improvement in our buildings. You know, students being at the table and having to say so of what they're learning. So kudos to Ms. Rogers, and she's continuing to exemplify what we're asking all principals to do.
So thank you. The board has to think at sometimes a very futuristic level and also a very highly, 20,000-foot view. So we appreciate the exposure into, your day-to-day or your monthly kind of planning vision. So thank you. All right. Next on our agenda is presentations by audience. So as a public body making decisions for that impact over 13,000 students and tens of thousands of voters and taxpayers, obviously feedback from the public is critical to our success. Rules for our board, addressing our board, have been posted near our public comment area as well as on our website, www.peoriapublicschools.org. We welcome both your praise and your constructive criticism. We simply request that you maintain a civil tone to your comments and respect our other speakers by limiting your time to the allotted 5 minutes. Outside of these meetings, you can contact board members by our district emails, or manage to wrangle up a phone number. If you have a specific request here tonight, please talk about it when you address the board, and we'll try to have a staff member follow up with you after the meeting. Our first speaker is Ms. Karen Gast.
Hello. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yay. Well, hello. I am here again to talk about health insurance. It's that time of year. It's crazy to think that a year has passed. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, I am just here on behalf of the Insurance Committee and K2 Benefits to voice our support for items number 14 and 15. And also, more than that, once again, truly from the heart, every year I want to make sure that I recognize those who sit on the committee and those that we work with here at Peoria Schools on an ongoing basis to help make things run smoothly. So first, Jerry Hammer. I work with her almost every day. She works tirelessly. She is just an incredible person, and I just can't tell you how great she is to work with. We work with lots of groups, and she is just a dynamo. Andrea Kupfer-Schmidt in the insurance department. She has been just such a welcome addition. Oh my gosh, again, like she blows it out of the park. She does a great job. She she's so organized and really on top of things. Mick Willis, I work with Mick quite a bit, and he is so impressive to me. I cannot say enough good things about working with him and collaborating with him. I work with a lot of controllers, and I have worked with a lot of controllers here in the past, and I think he does an incredible job of not just looking at the math, but at the individual, and that's something that I think that at K2 Benefits that we really strive to always do. Some people just want to look at the math, and I think it's important you marry those, right? And I think he and all of your team do a great job. On the insurance committee, just by name, I would like to mention, well, I won't go into name because none of them are actually here tonight, but they're representatives from all of the different unions. I love how collaboratively everybody works when we are in the insurance committee, and how respectful everybody is, and we really value the people who work on the committee. So anyways, we at K2 are very proud of number 14, the renewal for reinsurance. Reinsurance is a very, very small piece of your insurance budget. It is the only piece that will be seeing any sort of an increase, and it is under reinsurance trend nationally. Nationally, for a group your size, it would be 12 to 15%. In the area, most groups are smaller than you. We're seeing 8 to 9% in the reinsurance market. So this is definitely below that. We are extremely proud of that, and then no other increase at all. There will be, under 15, a change to the benefits in Plan B, which is only because we are following federal law, right? To not change that, your plan would be in violation of compliance with the United States Treasury. So we're going to comply with the 2019 regs. All right, other than that, I think that's it. So thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Claire Budell.
My husband had planned to go first, so if that's okay, if we can just switch, if that's all right.
You're the last two speakers, so.
Matt Budell. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Matt Budell. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I was really nervous when I first got here tonight, but the insurance presentation was very calming. So, you know, I'm here to talk about a situation and a bigger issue that involves my daughter, who is a District 150 student. You know, but in my professional life, I'm a reporter for the Journal-Star. You know, just for the record, but I've never actually seen the cards. I've been to a lot of meetings, but I've never seen the public comment cards. And on the bottom it says, "Are you here in support of or in opposition to?" And I want you to know that even though I'm going to talk about something negative, I marked in support of, because that's why I'm here in support of a change, and I just want you all to know that. My daughter completed Washington Gifted School in May. And we were very pleased with her experience, particularly Mr. Poles, the principal. He was great with us and gave her a lot of attention that she needed. But there was a really disappointing recent personnel issue, and that's why I'm here asking for this change. My wife and I discovered some emails from a teacher, from Mr. Anderson at the school, to my daughter on their personal accounts. And the content of the emails were really disturbing and alarming. And we filed a complaint with the school, with the district. So, you know, I just want to read you one segment, because ultimately, you know, this investigation fell short in one really critical way, and I think that's what needs to be changed in a policy matter. On Tuesday, Mr. Anderson emailed my daughter to let her know that, I'm not going to name this other person, this other teacher quit. Over the course of about 40 minutes, they exchanged 20 emails in which Mr. Anderson told her that the teacher is moving to Ohio and she's in therapy for borderline personality disorder, and that the teacher says she's probably, this is a quote, probably been with close to 100 guys since freshman year of high school. It's really sad. He then goes on to describe this woman's fiance and say it doesn't help that she's the hottest girl he ever dated, so it's difficult for him to let that go. He's almost 8 years older, is balding, has a dad bod, and he stutters when he speaks. They make an odd couple.
I mean, this is just wildly inappropriate content for a teacher and a 14-year-old girl. And that's, you know, that was just the talk. You know, there was also evidence in there that they were arranging to meet outside school without knowledge of our knowledge or the school's knowledge. So that's obviously upsetting enough. We went through the proper channels to file a complaint and initiate an investigation. And that investigation ultimately was completed without ever interviewing us or my daughter. And I don't understand how that's possible, especially in the age of Me Too. I mean, I really think that that's the district falling short and not taking this seriously enough. I have followed up. I mean, I know that there was some discipline imposed, but that's a critical failure, if you ask me. That needs to be addressed on a policy level. So that is my ask, that the board and the district take the time to look at issues like that and maybe come up with a baseline so something like that doesn't happen again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Claire, you're next.
My name is Claire Bedell, formerly Claire Jellick, so I've been in this boardroom a number of times before, but not behind the microphone, so a little nervous here. But, you know, I was listening to Mrs. Rodriguez earlier from Charter Oak, you know, saying that, you know, we should look at complaints as a positive and hopefully an opportunity for change. And I just hope that you see this as a, you know, a chance to reflect and maybe change policies or look at how things can be done differently in the future. A couple things I wanted to add, because I'm a woman, and of course my husband didn't get it perfect, so. So, you know, basically I just wanted to express that I have concern for the children in this district. If a student isn't being interviewed about an allegation of inappropriate content, how can we be assured that our future children are going to be protected from a future situation you know, that could be much more damaging to a child? You know, nobody talked to her about Mr. Anderson, and so it could have been assault. It could have been, you know, something could happen in the classroom, and I'm not saying it did, but nobody knows because nobody talked to her. Or at least nobody at the district knows. So I just can't understand. I mean, it seems so basic. You talk to both parties. You talk to the victim, the alleged victim, and you talk to the person who, you know, is alleged to have committed the action. I just don't understand the discrepancy there. So an investigation was ended without talking to the student. What ended up happening is, you know, we were told by Chief Boone that DCFS would be investigating and that he went ahead and filed a police report. No charges were ever filed, but he told us to go ahead and not talk to our daughter about it because it might affect any evidence, you know, in emails or whatever. She might email Mr. Anderson and be like, delete your emails or whatever. So we went for 3 weeks without even telling our daughter to, like, take care and to not talk to this man anymore because we never heard from anybody at the district. I didn't find out he was back in the classroom until I heard from a Washington gifted student at a neighborhood party. That was 3 weeks in, no call from the district, and then I spent 4 days talking to 3 different secretaries trying to get a hold of Mr. Ike. And finally on the 4th day, he responded. So, and there was confusion. I thought the chief talked to you about, you know, the results. No, nobody talked to us about what happened. We had to seek it out over a period of 4 days, multiple phone calls. So I think, you know, I do want to call out this district policy for anybody who's wondering. This is on the website. Employees may communicate with currently enrolled District 150 students only about school-related matters and only through district-approved or district-hosted electronic accounts and applications, such as the district email addresses and the official district website within the PSD.org domain. He used his Yahoo account. A district employee who wishes to utilize any technology for electronic communication other than district-approved or district-hosted electronic accounts to communicate with current District 150 students must both notify his or her building principal and obtain written or electronic consent from the student's parents before utilizing the technology. And just for everyone's information, the relationship started in May, and it ended around September when we got the district involved. But she was technically a Peoria High student in between Washington and high school all the way up until August. So this policy applies to her. So I thought, okay, why? Why is he back in the classroom? What might be some of the reasons? I'm sure there are some reasons that Dr. Ike felt that let's get him back in there, even though, our daughter wasn't spoken to. One, was it possibly that she was not a student? And I just, clarified that. No, she was enrolled at Peoria High for that period of time, and actually enrolled at Washington at the beginning of it. Two, she instigated it. That's irrelevant. She's a child. Children make mistakes. They're vulnerable and they're learning. We as adults are supposed to make the right decisions to protect them. Adults are supposed to act like adults. He obviously didn't. Three, he was being a mentor. Doesn't matter. He did not gain consent from the parents, and that is where the risk happens. Maybe I missed it, but I don't see a policy in District 150 policy that says anything about, I see email, I don't see anything about people interacting with children, like teachers interacting with children, like face-to-face. So I know that's my time. So I just wanted to say, with all of the stuff that's been going on, with priests and Boy Scouts and the Me Too movement and people in power taking advantage of other people, that I hope that you take this into consideration and make some changes in your policy.
Thank you. Responses to presentations by audience. Dr. Crott.
Yep, thank you, President Adler. I wanted to say that, to the parents, that absolutely when I was made aware of it, like you, it was like totally unacceptable, right? And so actually, I'm going to ask Dr. Ike to make some comments because I know you spent a lot of time with the team, and since it's out, I think it's appropriate to share some facts. I know there's some things we've in terms of what we can do as it relates to punishment. We've pushed it to the extreme that, to the extent that we can as a district, because there are multiple groups that we have to work in collaboration with, if that makes sense. But Dr. Ike, in terms of I think an overarching theme I heard was not really having a conversation with the kid, for example.
Because it's a personal matter, I don't know how much I can divulge right here, other than to say that the investigative process really was very, very rigorous, really, because of the seriousness of what happened.
Dr. Ike, would you come to the mic? I can't hear you.
Chief is here too. The investigative process was very, very rigorous. As you stated here, the chief contacted all the law enforcement agencies. The DCFS was contacted right away. Police was also involved in addition to our internal police force here. And all those agencies were working right along with us. We don't really wait for them to come back with a decision because we have our own internal policies. And as Dr. Kratz said, we thought that was a very serious infraction, a misconduct. And so you forwarded the consequence that he got, which I cannot state right here, which is really short of termination, essentially. That I can say, because he's back at the school. But he got the max of what we could do, given his rights, given the scope of what happened, and given that you could not really prove definitively that there was no contact, physical contact that we could determine. So, and as for your daughter, we actually attempted to reach out to her. As you know, she's at another location. And we made contact with that other school to say, can you help us arrange a meeting? They were not comfortable doing that. So they said we should arrange to do the interview ourselves. And of course, we came back here to arrange to make that contact, but your daughter wasn't available then. So I just wanted to talk about the process that we really followed, what we call due diligence on this, and came down with what we talked about. So.
Yeah, we really took it very, very seriously. I mean, I'm a mom also, and as Dr. Ike said, it was rigorous, and we spent quite a bit of time with the information that we received.
Dr. Craig, can I ask, would it be possible maybe for you or Dr. Ikujaku to follow up with the parents, I guess outside of this setting, and maybe specifically focusing on the communication aspect, because I did hear that same central theme, and it sounds like there was an attempt made to work through the student's new school, but it would be, I think it'd be important for us to follow up on that.
There was a meeting scheduled, and I thought it was postponed.
Yes, the administrative assistant made contact to schedule a meeting with the parents, but I think you guys were out of town or something, and so you said when you got back, you would get back on the schedule so we can meet. So she can still do that now that you're back in town.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for coming out and speaking on that. The parent in me doesn't feel comfortable at all with the decisions, with certain things regarding this process. You know, I don't feel like this behavior has it should be zero tolerance when it comes to these type of situations. So I want to say thank you for coming out and speaking on that. I'm going to do my due diligence and follow up on this particular situation. But ultimately, yeah, this behavior does not belong in our schools at all, period.
Ms. Jackson.
Mr. President, let me take a step further. I think we need to know the steps that were followed through this whole process. Where was the beginning and what happened? Who they talked to? If DCFS was involved, there's a report. If the police are involved, there was a report. If our SROs were involved, there's a report. If there were any documentation of meeting dates, who those meeting dates were with, because a 14-year-old can't make a decision to talk to anybody without their parents around. And I'm very sensitive about this, so I want to know from the very absolute beginning what happened, who they talked to, and those reports. And if we haven't done anything that I think is what we need to do, we need to do it quickly. But aside from that, if that person is back in the same school where this began, it's a real problem for me. Because it says that, did we really take it seriously? Did we really try to do everything possible? And there's not one 14-year-older that can make a decision that they can't talk to anybody about something as serious as this. So I'm not accepting that at all. So I don't think we should have been discussing this in public anyway. But however, I'd like to know all of that and it brought to the board so we can see what happened before anything is done anymore.
We have that, Ms. Jackson, and you'll get that tomorrow.
Mr. Walter.
Yeah, 2 points. I'm sorry.
I just want to caution the board at this point
about how much this is not to keep any information from the public or the parents, but I really want to caution us on how far we talk about this in open session when it comes to a personnel matter. Okay, thank you.
I actually was going to address that same point. I share the parents' concern, and because Mr. Shaw and I are on the policy committee that you brought up and mentioned policy, in a lot of ways, I think the policy that you addressed does cover this. I share with you, without getting into the specifics, the concern. I had 4 daughters that went through this district, and putting myself in your shoes, I'd be concerned too that I as a parent and then my daughter were not investigated. That's a question I'm not going to bring up here. I would just like us to get that answer because I'm real concerned with that. That's a piece where I think the policy maybe addressed that, but there's a piece that was not missing that you brought up validly here. So that's all I want to say. I agree. I was really nervous when we got into this because this is a personnel matter and we're tap dancing on some very personal rights, and it's not getting into the issue right or wrong. It's just this is a personal matter, and that's one of the things we have difficulty discussing. But I'm not saying I'm glad you brought it up. So that's my comment.
Dr. Davis-Naviles.
I heard you ask the question, why didn't anybody talk to us and why didn't anybody talk to our daughter? Is that correct? Yes. Can I task administration to answer those questions? They're very simple. Not just talk, just because those have nothing to do with personnel. It's just, I think they're pretty simple questions. I think they need to be answered.
I think that we need to follow what the attorney said, and I understand because that's what I want to know, all the processes, and it should be talked to in a different arena than this. I still want that.
And I think that's completely appropriate, but not. If you want to set up a time for it to, like you said.
There's a meeting scheduled that I'm aware of, and we'll get that information to you. Dr. Bob, I'll make sure you get that. Ms. Jackson.
Okay. Mr. Shaw.
Just wanted to reiterate, I wanted to thank you for bringing that forward. I know that's not easy to do. And as a result of that, as Mr. Waller said, we serve on the policy committee. As a result of this, we were already currently reviewing electronic communications as we speak. And we will also review the interaction between teachers and students. And we will also review investigations. So thank you again.
I'll just say one more time. Bottom line, kid needs to be taught. That was all. That was the main point of the word.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, proposed expenditures over $2,500. Any questions from board members on that list?
What list is that? The 2,500.
Proposed expenditures over $2,500. Okay, seeing none. Reports of requests under the Freedom of Information Act.
Thank you, President Adler. Since our board meeting on the 8th of October, we've received 0 requests. There were 2 pending requests noted on October 8th. Those requests were filled. To date, as of to date, we have received 41 requests for this calendar year at a cost of $950. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Mr. Shaw.
All right. President Adler, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Item number 1 gets to the school district. This meeting, $11,059.80. Year to date, $39,405.80. Item number 2, payment of bills. Item number, it's kind of misnumbered, payment for travel. I think I must have hit something.
I did too.
All right. Item number 3, payment for travel. Item number 4, human resources report. Item number 5, administrative pay increases and contract approval. Item number 6, salaries and regulations for auxiliary personnel, fiscal year 2018-2019. Item number 7, field trip approval for WTC to Lisle, Illinois. Item number 8, field trip approval, Peoria Jazz All-Stars, New Orleans, Louisiana. Item number 9, license agreement with Family Corps, the respite program. Item number 10, license agreement with Family Corps, case management program. Item number 11, agreement with the county, Peoria County Juvenile Probation Department. Item number 12, Methodist Medical Center of Illinois, Manual Academy In-School Health Center lease agreement. Item number 13, Total Spectrum Board Certified Behavioral Analyst contract. Item number 14, renewal of reinsurance, all employees. Item number 15, amendment, group healthcare provider for all employees. Item number 16, the estimate of revenues needed totaling $74,922,473. Item number 17, school-wide plans of Calvin Coolidge, Lindbergh Middle School, Mark Bills, Rolling Acres Middle School, Roseville Magnet, Sterling Middle School, Von Steuben Middle School, Washington Middle, Tree Wind, Valeska Hinton, Charter Oak, Franklin Primary, Glen Oak, Harrison, Hines Primary, Keller, Dr. Maud Sanders, Northmore Primary, Thomas Jefferson, Whittier, Lincoln, Manual Academy, Peoria High, Richwoods, and Jameson. Item number 18, revocation. Oh, yes, and that is the entirety of the consent agenda.
Can you go downhill?
All right. So items 1 through 17 are the consent agenda. Are there any items that board members would like pulled for a separate vote?
I have a question.
All right. I heard number 5 from Mrs. Ross. Mr. Walter, do you have a different one, or?
No, I just had, is there room for us to comment on these without withdrawing them?
Yeah, absolutely. So wherever the split comes, if it's one that's pulled for a separate vote, obviously you can comment after we get motion and second. If it doesn't get pulled, you can comment on the larger
I'll
bulk.
wait then. I don't have any to pull.
Okay.
Did you say number 5?
Number 5. Any other items? Okay. So at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt the entire consent agenda with the exception of number 5.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Mrs. Ross.
I was trying to get to that page where I had an insurance question. This is a little slow. I think that's number 14, isn't it?
14 and 15.
14 and 15. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it said documents included, which kind of was a little not self-explanatory. The increase in the insurance that's being presented, the first one, number 14, what is that increase due to?
Can I ask you a point of order? This isn't 5. I guess I'm confused why.
Well, it's questions on every other one.
Yeah, so the motion on the table is everything but 5 right now. So, any of those?
And there was a second.
Is it okay if I come ask a question on?
Clarification.
Oh, there's a second for the consent agenda with the exception of 5. We need to open it up for discussion, so I think we're.
You're good, Mrs. Ross. Go ahead.
Am I good or not?
You're good.
Okay, I thought I knew.
She's just asking for clarification, Mr. Wallace.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What is the increase due to?
Sure. So, first of all, this is just for the reinsurance. So there's multiple components to your health insurance, right? And to your budget for health insurance. One of the smallest buckets, I like to put everything in little buckets, just works for my brain, is reinsurance. And that is the amount. So as a self-funded health plan, you guys have a $275,000 deductible on each person on your major medical plan, okay? So reinsurance is the insurance that covers you when somebody has what we call a catastrophic claim over that $275,000, right? Reinsurance covers you over that. There have been some large claims, and when I'm not in public, I would be happy to just say, like, in general, what types of claims those are, but with HIPAA in a public forum, I don't want to walk any lines, right? But there have been some very large claims this year, and but, I think we've done a really great job of controlling them. Some claims are just things that you just can't control. Some are things that we can try and really help people on the front end. Medical trend, so there's different trends. When we look at, let's say, 6.5%-ish would be a total medical trend for a plan in a year, and within that you have a lot of different inflation trends on your prescription, on your actual medical, on the reinsurance portion, et cetera, that contribute to that. Reinsurance is a small portion of your budget, but we see nationally for groups of your size in the 1,000+ range, employee range, that we are seeing more in the 12+% just trend. Like, that's even if things are running well, that's just the inflation on reinsurance. It's crazy, but that's reality.
So basically, this is due to inflation.
Yeah.
And high, because I've been here long enough.
You've been awesome.
Yeah, when we were self-insured and when we weren't doing self-insured. So I've been here long enough to know that. But I was wondering, because every year it is going up. But we are lower than the national average, according to you, with large claims, right?
As far as your reinsurance increase this year, yes. We would say that that increase is below the national average, and that is the only part of your insurance that we're recommending any increase to. So, when you have a $20+ million budget and we're talking about a $70,000 increase, I personally think that's pretty good when you're looking at what most plans are seeing today as far as percent of overall, right? So we're pretty happy about it.
The self-insured process is still better for us.
Yes.
Than the other one, is what I'm saying.
100%. Yes. You guys performed very well again this year, and had you been fully insured, a fully insured carrier this year would have kept that money, where you guys are able to keep that money this year. Right. Yeah, you guys are doing great.
So even though number 15, also the group health care plan, you had attached some, could you kind of just give me a 5-second?
Super simple. There are a couple of things that we always want to do to make sure that your legal plan document that governs your medical plan is always in compliance. One of the things that was just a clarification that we needed to make sure that we were totally keeping it on par with, you have substitute teachers who might actually be more like full-time employees, but they're not full-time employees, and based on the hours that they work, according to the government regulations, they are to be covered. However, plan language, we just had to tighten that up. We made making breast pumps more accessible to women. On your plan, currently they would have to go through, in order to get the discount, right, and be a network, they needed to go to an in-network provider. A DME provider might actually be more expensive than what they can access at Target or Walmart or Amazon or something like that. So we said, you know what, no, we want to remove the barriers and just make this more accessible for people so they can get what's right for them underneath that threshold, right? So it was just a lot of little housekeeping items, and then on there, every year, the federal government has the option to change the minimum deductibles for a qualified high deductible health plan. One of your plans is a qualified high deductible health plan, and in order to maintain that status and allow your employees to access health savings accounts, for the year 2019, it was required by federal law that we, or by federal regulations, that we increase the deductibles by $100. So it wasn't because it was like, oh, we really thought you needed to do it, but you had to be compliant. So this is just proactively making sure that we have all of that language in effect. So come January 1st, you're compliant with all laws.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions on the motion to adopt all items on the consent agenda with the exception of item 5? Seeing none, would you please call us a roll?
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mrs. Jackson?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Dr. Davidson, Aviles?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Adler?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
All right, can I have a motion to adopt item 5?
So moved. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Ross?
I'll just be abstaining from that vote.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on item 5?
Item 5.
Okay, seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Walter?
Aye.
Mrs. Jackson?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Abstain.
Dr. Davison Aviles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Adler?
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 abstain.
Thank you. That brings us to the deliberation agenda. Who's reading tonight?
I'll read it. I move that the revocation of expulsion to be held in abeyance listed on the report dated October 22, 2018 be approved as presented.
Second.
All right, item's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Walter?
Aye.
Mrs. Jackson?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Dr. Davison Aviles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Adler?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is presentations and suggestions by board members. Mr. Walter.
Well, I didn't get a chance to make a comment. I did have a comment on number 8. Mr. Wilson and I wanted to know if we could be chaperones for the jazz group that was going to New Orleans, but we didn't have time to discuss that, so I'll go
We'll
with Mike.
connect you with Mary Jo.
Thank you.
I vote no.
Now, my second presentation is the Illinois Association of School Boards had, at their last Central Illinois meeting, had some MBM level pins, which means that if you contribute to the Illinois Association of School Boards by attending state associations and doing some other meetings, there are pins that are available, and it's an award for people who have been involved at both the local and state level. And we have actually 4 people on this board who are going to receive those, and I would just like to notify that and give that notice now and then pass them out. Dr. Bob Davidson Aviles is going to be one of the pin winners. Douglas Shaw is also one. Ernestine Jackson to my right is another one, and myself, Dan Walther, and so I'll pass those off. That's a contribution that means that you've been involved local and state level, and so they give these as you move forward. So I just want to congratulate the members for getting it. So.
Kudos. Any other presentations or suggestions by board members? Reports from board committees? Mr. Shaw.
Thank you. The Policy Committee will meet Thursday, November 14th at 3:30.
Any other reports from board committees? All right.
Oh, Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee meeting November 1st.
Very good. Any other business for the good of the board of the public? Seeing none, we adjourn.